Australia and New Zealand are intensifying aid efforts in response to a powerful volcanic eruption and subsequent tsunami which struck the South Pacific nation of Tonga. Communications with the remote islands are almost impossible after a vital undersea cable was severed during the blast. Gareth Barlow has more details.
Aid being loaded in Sydney destined for Tonga. But exactly what assistance Tongans need is far from clear after the eruption severed a vital undersea communications cable. Images captured from aircraft sent by New Zealand and Australia do offer some insight, showing coastlines and communities covered in ash, with volcanic rock floating on the ocean. And also these, of the Hunga Tonga Hunga Hapai volcano before and after its mammoth eruption.
The damage doesn't seem to have been as catastrophic as we had first imagined that it might be, but there's still widespread damage, particularly to the western part of the main island, and we're looking forward to hearing from those outer islands closer to the blast site.
Alongside struggling to contact the tiny South Pacific nation, the aid effort will be made doubly difficult by the coronavirus. Tonga has only registered a single case of COVID-19 and is determined to keep the virus out of the country.
We have seen that the airport and most part of the main island, where the capital is, it's been covered with the volcanic ash. So unfortunately, this will require lots of cleanup.
Here in the UK, the family of a British woman swept away by the tsunami say her body has been found. 50-year-old Angela Glover ran a dog sanctuary in the Tongan capital and was reportedly killed as she tried to rescue one of her animals. Days after the Hunga Tonga Hunga Hapai volcano erupted, there's still so little information as to the scale of its impact. For now, the international aid community can only prepare for the worst, but hope for the best. Gareth Barlow, BBC News.
Well, Thomas Coughlan is the senior political reporter at the New Zealand Herald. Thanks so much for joining us. What's the latest information that you've got? I know it's very difficult, obviously, to find out exactly what's happening at the moment.
Yes, well, we have learned a lot in the last 24 hours, thanks to the first images coming through from those surveillance flights. They show entire villages covered in a layer of ash. We've been able to confirm now that the airfield is unusable for flights to fly in supplies. So that really means that the option now is airlifting supplies in or using vessels. Unfortunately, we've also had the first two deaths confirmed, but like you say, communications with the outlying islands are impossible at this stage, or very difficult. So it means that the death toll could possibly rise as we get more information about those outer islands. We have had reports that one village in one of those outer islands has been largely destroyed.
And how many islands are there? I don't know if you're aware of the exact number, but it's obviously very disparate. And the COVID factor we've heard also is proving complicated in terms of, obviously the authorities are worried about importing it onto the islands through aid workers.
Tonga is an archipelago of 169 islands. Only just under 40, I think 36 of those islands are inhabited, which does reduce the number significantly. But those outer islands are incredibly difficult to communicate with. And as you say, Tonga has managed to keep a zero COVID policy in place since the pandemic started, which means that they are quite hesitant about welcoming New Zealand and Australian naval vessels onto the islands to help out with this pandemic, particularly as Australia is experiencing a wave of COVID and New Zealand is having cases in the community as well.
Do you know how able they are, though, to help people stranded if they don't get outside assistance?
The islands will need outside assistance. At some point, we know that water on the island is problematic. One naval vessel has left New Zealand already. Another one is scheduled to leave tonight. But whether they dock in Tonga or whether they find some way of distributing supplies via some other means once they get to Tonga is a bit of a question at this stage. But I do believe that at some point international aid will be required. There is a limited amount that the islands can probably do on their own.
And the ash itself poses a risk, doesn't it, to health?
Yes, correct. The supplies of water in particular are the crucial thing. So the HMNZ, Aotearoa, has supplies of fresh water on it, and that will leave later today, I'm told. And it also has desalination equipment, which will help create, abundant supplies of fresh water because it can take the salt out of the seawater. But the key issue with the ash is that it has contaminated water supplies, which does make it incredibly difficult for people on the island to sustain themselves.
Okay, Thomas Coughlin, thank you very much indeed for joining us today. Thank you.